I go back to Capitol Hill. NBC's Julie Tsirkin. Julie, thank you so much for your patience. We had to dip in to those remarks at the White House just to remind viewers what you and I were about to talk about, the fact that you had Republican leadership now calling on Congressman Tony Gonzales to drop his reelection bid after he did acknowledge that he had an affair with a staffer who did tragically go on to die by suicide. Talk a little bit about the state of play here. Do you get the sense that he's going to actually drop out of the race?
Well, that was the key question we had planned to ask him today, but unfortunately we've been outside of his office all day long and have not seen the congressman, and he missed the votes on the War Powers resolution that just failed in the House. So that's the key question for him. But I will point out that we did talk to Speaker Johnson. My colleague Melanie Zanona and Lizzie Jensen caught up with him a little bit earlier. He spoke to that extraordinary statement that his leadership team put out. Take a listen to what he said, and we'll talk about it more on the other side.
Leadership put out a statement. It speaks for itself. We've encouraged him to drop out of the race for re-election. I think that is politically, that's a death penalty, okay?
I just want to underscore what he said there at the end. He said politically, he believes that Tony Gonzales' actions having this affair and admitting to it last night with his staffer is a political death sentence. I think it's also notable, Kristen, you asked me if Gonzales is going to resign. Remember, Johnson and his leadership team very carefully chose the words not seek re-election, again, drop out of his runoff bid in Texas, because Johnson needs every vote he can get right now.
Yeah, talk a little bit about the margins and the fact that this comes amid really an increased number of retirements, right?
An increased number of retirements. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Senator Steve Daines, who shocked just about everybody, including members of his team, when he decided not to run for re-election minutes before the filing deadline closed in Montana for the Senate seat. Now, this is notable. He's somebody who served as the chair of the NRC. His mission last cycle was to elect Republicans to the Senate. So he's keenly aware of how Democrats, including Senator John Tester, are trying to perhaps make a comeback for his Montana Senate seat. So notable that he filed or decided not to run for re-election minutes before the filing deadline. But you mentioned this is just a growing list of Republican retirements. Burgess Owens in the House decided not to seek re-election yesterday as well. It's the second highest total of House Republicans not seeking re-election. And Daines became the 6th senator not to seek re-election in November. We have Senator Tom Tillis, who is in as well, Cynthia Lummis, for example, in Wyoming. So a whole slate of Republicans that are considering and deciding now not to come back here, not to run for re-election. And certainly this is going to have an impact on November. There are a number of Democrats who have decided that too. But Republicans have a significant amount of seats open, a significant amount of districts in play. And certainly Democrats are trying to do everything they can right now to try and win back the House and the Senate. Kristen.
Julie Tsirkin with The View from Capitol Hill. Julie, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.